Welcome back to the Fuck the Stigma podcast, Brittnay.
Yay, fuck the stigma.
I did an interview with you about we're coming up on a year from almost on that interview, and I wanted to do an update with you.
Crazy, almost a year.
Yeah.
Right?
How much time do you have sober? You're coming up on a year now?
Coming up on a year. We'll have a year January 9th.
Cool. So I had interviewed you on your experience with like prostitution. You were at the time kind of struggling with I think you called them like cravings.
Yeah, at the beginning, when you interviewed me last, I think I was like, I felt like I was fresh. Like I was still so traumatized and like, I don't know. I feel like I had the hunger for the life that I have today. And I was just still working through a lot of issues, working through a lot of trauma and stuff. So
yeah, and I think that was also a little bit of my fault with, I think, interviewing you kind of early.
I think it was a good perspective, though. Let's not get that wrong. It was a good perspective to see me fresh like that,
yes.
And raw. And
so I think it'd definitely be a good comparison. Even if you ever decide to watch the video back, you can see where you were and maybe watch this one and see where you are. Yeah. Where you are now. You also got I wanted to talk about this really quick. You got your pimp. You were branded by pimps, and you got those covered up recently.
Yeah. So we did a tattoo cover up and branding cover up with Caps. In Las Vegas. What's the name of the shop? I don't
Revolt Tattoos.
Revolt Tattoo. Yes. And thank you to All Things Possible Ministries and Samantha Rivas and her beautiful family for flying us out.
Yeah.
And we got these tattoos covered.
Yeah. Then you got the lion on your chest.
Yeah, I got the lion on my chest, which is like the Lion of Judah. And then this is like my angel with the gas mask. So yeah, we had a good time. You got yours done too, right?
Yeah. So I had like demon, and then now it's a gauntlet.
It was a demon. No longer.
It was a demon throwing up blood and crying blood, and now it's gauntlets with a sword.
Yeah, kind of like your protector.
Yeah, represents responsibility of power.
It's a little bit of responsibility and power, right?
Literally.
Yeah, but it was such a blessing to get these names covered up and to kind of start a new chapter in my life. And so, yeah, I'm so thankful to All Things Possible and everyone who helped in that.
Of course. It was emotional.
It was emotional. And we had a great time, like sitting in the chair for 9 hours and then sit like just with this needle dragging in your skin and then thinking about like everything that happened up to that point, like how these names got on you and the journey that you went through this, and then to look at your hand and your place and look and see that it's no longer there. It's awesome.
It's powerful. Yeah. And yeah, with me, when I was sitting in that chair, every like single trauma was running through my head for some reason. It's like, why now? And I was crying. Like he was tattooing me and I was just like crying.
Yeah, it's like I thought I was healed from some things, but I think in that moment, like maybe hour 7 of the needle dragging across my skin, I was like,
yeah.
But it was good. It was a healing. It was like a release. It was definitely something that something that needed to be done, and I couldn't have done it in better company.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
So to touch on for those that maybe didn't watch your interview, I kind of just want like a brief summary of like what your history was with prostitution and what you did in your past. Right.
So kind of like what we talked about in the last video, I had been a escort prostitute involved in trafficking, drug addict, junkie, whatever you want to call it, for most of my adult life. And I came to treatment and wanted a better life for myself. I couldn't see what that better life was going to entail for myself yet, but I knew I wanted something better. I knew I didn't want to have my daughters looking up to me as that prostitute or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I came in broken, destroyed, struggling, stressed out.
Now you're getting built back up.
Like, yeah, now I'm definitely being built back up into a strong, virtuous woman who can stand on what she believes in and, be an example for my kids and for other women who are struggling, going through the same things.
Yeah. How long were you in that lifestyle for?
So, started when I was 18. So, about almost 20 years.
And that's another thing, is that like 20 years of being in that lifestyle and having those behaviors, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
the trauma started when I was younger than that. Of course, that's where the original prostitution and things came in was so being, 13, 14, molested by a family member and still manipulating and using those tactics and learning survival, basically survival. And then, separating from my child's father, not knowing how to take care of myself, I relied on using my body or selling my body for money or whatever, and it seemed like it was so normal at the time because no one told me stop. No one said, Brittnay, let's not do that. Or and until I've learned the value of myself and how much I respect myself and love myself.
So what was the way you viewed it previously?
Before, I believed this was a agreement with myself. I believed that, my body was never mine since I was young. Like it had been stolen from me before. So I was abused since I was a child. So I'm going to sell it, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my children. I'm going to take care of whatever it is I wanted, my drug habit at the time, whatever it was. And so I didn't see it as a problem, not knowing that subconsciously it was literally tearing me apart, Yeah. Tearing down my value system.
What did the drugs play in all of that? Did it help?
There's a lot of numbing. With the drugs, I definitely stayed numb to the fact that this was a big life-altering thing I kept putting myself into, the prostitution, especially after I knew better. Until you know better, you can't do better. But before, I knew better, I've forgiven myself for that, for not knowing better. But after, I'm still working on for the forgiveness of myself, I think.
And that's a process.
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
And I feel like the forgiveness also goes with your actions.
Yeah.
I think the actions that you're taking every single day is going to play a big part in you forgiving yourself. Yeah, no, definitely. I've had to change everything 100%. People, places, and things. I've had to change my mentality, my thought process on things. I've had to stay firm to my nose and to the new value system and belief system that I believe in now. Yeah. I'm just a whole totally different woman. If you think about it, I don't advocate or I don't think that prostitution is okay. So sex work. Yeah. So sex. That. Yeah, exactly.
So sex work. So I know there's some women out there who are sex workers, and at the time they may feel like they're doing what they need to do to get by. They're making all this great money. They're monopolizing on it, making it a business. But the trauma that it causes mentally on your whole person, your psyche, everything is devastating, and it's long-term effects. If you think about it. So I don't advocate for that anymore. Interesting. Yeah. And it's pretty much a complete 180. Yeah, absolutely. A big argument is that sex work isn't work. Well, sex work could be, so what makes work? Work is something that you get paid for, right? Right. So if you're going and having sex with someone and you're getting paid in exchange, that's work. But now, is it meaningful work? It's meaningful because you're getting paid for it, right? But I just also feel like it's so devastating to the person performing the sex work, whether it's whether they're being forced or whatever. It's degrading. Sure. It's there's also traumatizing. It breaks you down to the lowest denominator. It takes something out of you. You can't say, any person who's done it for years or done it for any amount of time, you can't tell me that you feel good about yourself at the end of the day. You just don't. Mm-hmm. You might have a fat pocket of cash or be able to pay your bills or whatever, but you just don't feel good about yourself because you're giving yourself to someone or something else and being used. Yeah, just for money. Just for money. And I hate that we all need money. I hate it. But the thing is that we do, and it's the truth. But it's is that something that are you willing to exchange your soul for money? Yeah. It's such a big trendy thing now to do sex work, though. A lot of women, they're like, oh, I'm low on cash. Maybe I should start an OnlyFans. You know what I mean? And it's sad. That's sad that's what we've come to. Yeah. And it's women tend to feel empowered by it. Oh, I can use what I have, my body, in exchange for money, which is all I want. Right. And I can resonate with that. I felt that before. I felt that empowerment of, I can take control, I can use my body to get paid for it. But in the long run, it wasn't worth it because it demoralized and created such a web of deceitful lies that I thought about myself, thinking that was all I was good for. I'm smarter than that. I'm more capable of doing other things to produce a livelihood for my family, So it kind of just gets you trapped into this mentality of thinking this is all I'm good for. Yeah. You know?
What other effects did it have on your mental health, do you think?
It definitely was devastating. And I'm going to say because thinking that my value was within that. So my first, relationship with love or whatever I thought was a sexual experience that was forced upon me, right? And so I equated that with being loved or being valuable at a very young age. And so it continued to take place when instead I should have found love from within, from, natural sweet love, not this forced upon sexual deviancy type of situation.
Mm-hmm. And there's also that voluntary sex work, like, oh, I'm signing up to do this,
but you don't know what you're really signing up for.
Yeah. And then there's also those girls that like it's forced upon them, like, this is what you're gonna do.
Right. But to the girls who are voluntarily engaging in sex work, if you think about it, at the end of the night when you're laying there and knowing what you've done for the day, to get by, be paid, or whatever the case may be, get a bag, do you really feel good about yourself? Mm-hmm. Is the question. If you have kids, can you really tell your kids, like, I'm empowered, I sold my body today, Like, is that something that you would want for your child or for your daughter or for your son or for whatever? Is that something that you'd want?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't view it that way.
Right, because you're thinking, I have bills to pay, I'm broke, I'm struggling, I'm poor. For me, like, there was those moments, but there was also, I have a drug habit to support and I want all these things and I want fast money and I don't think I'm good for anything else and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't feel good about myself at the end of the day.
And I doubt that, I haven't met anybody that's done it sober.
Right.
I think drug addiction plays a huge role in it as well.
Right. I do know some girls who do work sober, but they're also looking to fill a void. And so they have some other mental health issues. So they're sober, but they're dealing with mental health. Yeah. You can't be 100% straight laced, straight face doing that kind of work. It just don't work. To give yourself to hundreds of people or whatever the case may be, whatever your content is, like, that's degrading and demoralizing, and it's going to take a toll. It's going to take a toll.
For sure. And then, so in this past about a year, you've been working on, like, breaking out of doing sex work. And I remember you were talking about, like, you'd get triggered.
Yeah, in the beginning. So I was struggling financially when I first got in, and I was feeling stressed, like, what am I going to do? Like, this is all I've known for such time. Am I good enough to do anything else? Am I valuable for anything else? Which everyone was telling me that, of course, but and we're all everyone like, says Brittnay. This, but internally, until you love yourself and believe in yourself enough, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. So I had to do the real work of trauma therapy, really digging in and seeing who I am or who I wanted to be as a woman. Like I said, changing people, places, and things. Thank you to Stairways for giving me the platform and the safe place to be able to change. I work now. I work hard. I'm abstained from all alcohol, drugs, I'm a mentor. I sponsor women. I got married.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So I can live according to my beliefs, which is I want to be a virtuous woman, a Proverbs 31 woman. And so I want to be an example. And the crazy thing is I thought I would have a lot of backlash, maybe. Not that it's too important, but backlash of friends saying, like, oh, you switched up or whatever. But really, I've had so many people come to me wanting to know how I did it, and they're ready to do it too. So that's been a blessing.
So you thought people would judge you for getting out of the lifestyle and finding a new way of life?
Yeah.
Interesting. And then now people are actually
now
reaching
just
out.
A doorway to be able to continue to help
that's other amazing.
People. It's amazing, yeah.
Like, I really do believe your story is going to help a lot of people. Yeah. And I think you already are. You're doing, like, case management.
Yeah, I'm a case manager now. Wow, can you believe that for a treatment center? That's crazy. Writing court letters for clients who need letters of support. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. The life I have and the life that I'm building, all praise be to God, is that it's getting better than I ever imagined it could be. And I can only imagine what my future can hold, as long as I abstain from drugs and alcohol and old thought processes. Like I said, one of my addictions was prostitution, And
and a lot of people don't view it that way.
Yeah, they don't view that as an addiction. They view that as maybe just like a side effect of addiction, but that can be an addiction in itself, especially all the
that, like, it's almost not, it's kind of in the way of, like, this instant gratification, like sex
instant
equals
gratification
money.
Yeah, sex equals money. I'm broke, I want money, and then I can have it now, and there's no cap to how much money you can make, right? But at the end of the day, is that money going to sustain you mentally? Right?
It's just, I really do agree with the toll that it takes on your mental health, and I don't think it's worth it. And also something Samantha once said, like, your body's not worth any amount of money.
It's not.
And I can totally get down with that belief, but then I'm also not like, I'm not going to judge people for where they are.
Not. Yeah, I don't judge anyone for being where they're at. I love everyone exactly where they're at, but I just also know from experience that eventually it will catch up to you. So you have all the money in the world, but you're mentally unstable. How are you going to enjoy this money, utilize it for what it needs to be utilized for? Like you've just sold yourself, you know, not just your physical body, but mentally, like what are you doing it for? You know, it's gonna catch up. It's gonna take a toll
for sure. Yeah. And then I think your higher power and God has played a huge part in your recovery. And then how did you kind of come to terms with finding like a higher power, and what do you even think the importance is with having a higher power in recovery?
So I've always been a God girly. I've always loved God, and I feel like you have to believe in something besides yourself. I choose to believe in God, and I just feel like He's never left me and forsake me. I'm the one who's turned my back. Yeah. You know, I'm the one who's turned my back on God. God's never left. He's always been right there.
That's the thing, is we feel like God either abandoned us, or like, God's done us dirty,
right?
Or when has let really these things happen. So like, I think a lot of us blame God for almost human will. Right. Like, why are there people getting shot and like et cetera, et cetera?
When God's not the one putting the gun in the hand.
It's really us. It's
human will.
Yeah, humans. Right. That's what we're doing to each other.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. So like, how did you kind of start? You've always
so I've always believed in God. Like I said, I'm the one who's basically turned my back on God, because I was ashamed. I was shameful, not knowing that my Father is a loving Father. I mean, knowing, but not believing in myself or loving myself enough to know that my God is a loving Father who will always love me and always be there for me and forgive me. But I had to do some forgiving of myself. You know, who am I trying to hide from? This God is everywhere, right? He's omnipotent, and so here I'm trying to hide from Him whenever He's my Creator. He knows the number of hairs that are on my head. You know, how could I hide from this being, from this person who created me? Yeah. Me and you have had some really good conversations through the time. Like, I've gotten to know you so well over this year, like all of our adventures. And I think you've gotten to see me grow into this person that I'm becoming. And I've gotten to see you grow into this amazing little whippersnapper of a girl who's so smart and capable and talented, right? Yeah. And you're providing such a great platform for us to be able to fuck the stigma, literally, and talk about things that are uncomfortable topics sometimes, like God and prostitution. You know, it's crazy. Like, who would have thought? Yeah.
What was it? God loved prostitutes.
Yeah, he did. He loved
That's
everyone.
The thing. Yeah. And I mean, I'm super grateful for this platform of Fuck the Stigma. I mean, also I'm learning so much from you and your experiences. Which I greatly appreciate. It gives me more insight, and I'm not so ignorant to all these different things. Right. You know what I mean? The one thing I've done very well in the last two years and some change of recovery is like keeping an open ear and an open mind. Right.
Well, the world is so harsh and angry anyways already. Yeah. You know, and there's so many people who are still so closed-minded to so many things that are going on in our world. Like,
But you'd also mentioned like what's kind of like your goal with, like, do you want to kind of continue helping people that have gone through what you've gone through?
Right. So I feel like my goal right now is, and I don't know what that looks like for me yet, but
of course,
I feel so alive at the thought of helping others through traumatic times and situations and showing that there is light at the end of the tunnel, with just hard work and dedication. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like some people maybe don't have any guidance, or they give up too soon. Like, you know, things might be going well, and then one little monkey in the wrench, and they give up and get back on, you know, start, you know, using again or whatever, or go back out to the streets. And I just wish that, and hope that maybe I can be a beacon of light for people who are going through that, and just to keep holding on for just like a little bit longer, you know?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot with people giving up. I like what you said, monkey in the wrench.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy? Because nowadays addiction isn't just addiction. Addiction is life or death.
It really is.
Like, it's not like you can just use and think you're okay. You use, you're going to die. It's not like, let's get high, let's get fucked up with our friends anymore.
Do you just want to get high really quick? Like, it's just like, oh, do I want to risk my life or not now?
Yeah, you're going to die. And that's sad.
And you're referring to, like, the fentanyl epidemic?
Absolutely. My daughter, like, I think I spoke about her the last podcast, was that, you know, when I came in, I was broken and distraught. I had a heavy addiction of my own, but I also had a daughter who was fighting for her life, battling the fentanyl epidemic. And thanks to say right now, like, she's clean. She's been clean going on, I think it's 300 something days. She's back in high school. She's like doing everything. Like a 17-year-old girl who was smoking grams and grams of fentanyl a day. Like, she's back on track. And so I know if she can do it, others can do it.
For sure.
You know, and that's one of my biggest motivators is seeing my children proud of me, my family proud of me, my daughter's recovery and sobriety. Like, you know, most kids don't get to walk through the fires that she's walked through and make it out, you know, and she has. And that's such an inspiration. It's just like all of us were miracles, you know? So that's pretty inspiring.
For sure. Also, like, on another note, with trauma, I don't think we kind of all realize how much it affects us. Like, certain things, like when I came out here, I've said this before, like, I didn't know I was traumatized. I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't know what I had experienced growing up was considered trauma, and it was hard for me to identify that was trauma, because I also do this thing of comparing my trauma to everybody else's. Like, oh, she's gone through worse, what I went through isn't shit. Right.
Well, the feeling of helplessness is still the same, whether my trauma the feelings are still the same. But yeah, sometimes we get stuck in the norm thinking that this is normal. Like, you know, all the years of me being molested or whatever, I just thought that was normal. Like, you know, it's just weird. Like, you get stuck thinking in this chaotic world that this is normalcy when it's not. And so it traumatizes you, definitely.
Exactly. And then all of that, like, you might not, like, I'm really good at disassociating. Like, so I kind of forget things, but subconsciously I know, and my body remembers.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to do whatever makes me feel comfortable, and that could lead me into, like, this toxic road, if that makes sense.
This whole year of being abstinent from all drugs and alcohol and all old thought processes and patterns has really opened my eyes to the fact that your body does store trauma, which is something crazy. Because, like, thinking about, like, I might be driving down the road and I get a weird sensation and I break out in tears, and I'm like, what is that from? Well, I never experienced that before because I've been high, and, you know,
all these things are coming up.
You know, all these things are coming up, and it's just like, so now I've been equipped with the tools to be able to look at that moment, pick it apart, and work through it, as opposed to going and picking up a needle or whatever.
Exactly. And that first year of recovery is like that. You're kind of learning yourself and how your body is reacting to things. And then you're learning what you need to ease yourself without the drugs and alcohol. Like, do I need to breathe? Do I need to talk to somebody? Am I hangry? Like, do I need to eat?
Yeah.
All those things.
I definitely say a year of recovery. Like, the first year is so important. The first year is definitely, it's so important.
Yeah. And then there's, but even people at 5 years and plus are still learning things about themselves. So it never stops.
Never stops.
Never ending journey of being.
Because you didn't become, you know, traumatized and screwed up in one night. It took 36 years of hard life living for me to get this way. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that I'm willing to work on, that I want to work on, so I can be the best version of myself, because life is so short.
Yeah.
You know?
And you said your big motivators are, like, your family, your daughters. So, like, would you say it's kind of been hard for you to stay sober? Like, did you ever have the thought of, like, I kind of want to get high right now?
I've had fleeting thoughts, but they go away so quickly because I've never been provided a platform like this to be able to get clean. Usually when I was getting clean, it'd be incarceration. And so the ability to come to a treatment program out in California and be sober and to really look at my life voluntarily, you know, it is amazing. So every time I get those thoughts, because I'd be a liar if I said I didn't, I just cast them out immediately.
Yeah.
You know?
I think those thoughts are normal.
They're normal.
And some people tend to, instead of letting the thought go, they cling on to it and entertain it.
Play a little tape out, and the next thing you know, you're on the corner smoking crack. It can happen that quick, but well, let's hope you're not on the corner smoking crack, but it can happen that fast. So you have to literally don't romanticize it. Don't think about it. You got to chunk it out quick.
Mm-hmm. Talk about it if you need to.
Whatever you got to do. You got to do something.
Yeah, but relapse is very, 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 very prevalent, and it happens.
It does happen.
And it's definitely not something you should be ashamed of. I feel like the rooms and people in recovery are very open and willing to dude, just come back.
Yeah.
If you're ready.
But it seems like the guilt that you have on yourself is the barrier. Nobody else really gives a fuck. Everybody else wants you to come back and we love you, open arms, etc. Especially the stigma of I fucked up. Mm-hmm. Oh no, everyone's gonna know. Well, you weren't perfect.
Yeah.
You're thinking you're perfect. You're not.
So what's kind of your overall take on stigma?
I think, come on, it's 2023. I think the stigma. I mean, this is nothing new. Life has been repeating itself. History's been repeating itself. The things are getting more and more bold. Sure. I don't think there needs to be any stigma, especially not a stigma that I judge you over. Because I would suspect that if you took apart your life, anyone who's judging someone or has a stigma and isn't willing to open their eyes or ears, if they took a look at their own life, there's probably some skeletons in their closet as well.
For sure.
There's nothing to be I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of, embarrassed of, or anything that should be stigmatized in this day and age. Mm-hmm. There's no way.
Dude, what you said about history repeating itself.
It's repeating itself, but it's getting more and more brutal each time.
Yeah.
This time around, it feels like we're living in the last days. It's just crazy, the world.
I really feel like there's a revolution coming. I was just talking about this.
There's something going on. I feel like a need to get this thing called life right and get right with God and get my children right on the right path and to enjoy life as much as I can because it's so fickle and small. And I feel like it's crazy right now.
Yeah, right now, a big thing is people can't afford to live anymore.
Definitely.
And that can go back to why somebody would go do some sex work.
Absolutely.
And it's just I'm trying, and that's what I'm trying to do is not focus so much on I'm living to paycheck to paycheck right now. I'm trying to just focus on
it's devastating. Could you imagine to be able to wake up and just live and not have to work 26 hours to, you know what I'm saying? So I just moved jobs and I was working literally some days 16 hours a day. And I felt like just to pay rent. California, the cost of living in California is really expensive to me as opposed to back home in Oklahoma. And I was getting depressed and overwhelmed and really complacent. And that's when the thoughts of oh, well, maybe if I just, got back into the old lifestyle, my money, issues would be alleviated. But we know that's not true. I know that's not true now because I know what that leads to. I would be unmanageable, unable to even manage the money that was coming in because I'm so mentally unstable. So it's kind of be mentally unstable, work 16 hours a day for a very low wage and just make it work or what? Life is expensive.
It's expensive as fuck. And I'm trying to just enjoy everything I can. Because I don't want to just be the person that goes home, works, goes home, work.
Right.
Working all the time. Because I really don't want to fall into that.
Into that trap.
Yeah, I want to enjoy my youth and even spend money on going to go do something fun.
Right, some memories, something that's going to last.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But it's hard. And that's hard. People are talking about getting multiple jobs and multiple jobs because they can't afford to live
It seems like that's the only way to make it work. I think there's something to be noticed about the family units who live all in one house, maybe 3 or 4 different family members all living in one house. That's how they make it work. And you see them, they're so happy because they're spending time and just genuinely spending time. And cost of living is ridiculous.
Have you been struggling? You've been struggling with that?
Oh,
because you've been thinking about.
So I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I really want to go home to be with my kids, but I've got stuck on the rat wheel in California where I'm just working, paying bills, just barely making it. So
it's hard to save money.
I have a couple of little things that I like to do for myself. But I send money to my kids and make sure that they have what they need. But me and my husband haven't even got to move in together or experience that. Because it's just so expensive to combine. You need first and last month's rent and a deposit. So now you're talking $4,500 just to get into a place.
And then on top of that, just paying the monthly
plus rent, and then we just barely we got stabilized with a vehicle, etc. And of course, it's our first year in recovery, but man, it's difficult.
It's hard.
There's no guideline or book on how to do this shit.
And
right.
like people have been moving back into their parents. Like I think it's a nationwide thing now of people are struggling to live and afford life. And it's getting out of hand. So I really feel like sooner or later we're gonna have enough. I mean, I've already had enough.
Well, so if you think about in Oklahoma, this is going to be depressing, you guys, for you Californians. The minimum wage is $7.50.
Ridiculous.
An hour. They're talking about raising the wages in 2029 to $15 an hour.
2029, 15?
2029. It's 2023. Like, what are we going to do till then? Like, the thought of like getting my tent is becoming more and more appealing.
Yeah. Whip out the tent.
Whip out the tent, because like rent is really expensive.
It's hard.
Like $1,000 a month rent for a shared space and a small bed. That's something I'm thankful for. However, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's like our quality of living is going down for like what we're paying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that.
Who's making up these rules? Like where did this come from?
Let me know.
Let us know, because that's horrible.
I feel like where I was kind of going with that is I think there's going to be a revolution in a lot of things with like the fentanyl epidemic going on, the people not being able to afford life, and with the stigma preventing people from being their true authentic selves or even seeking help.
Right.
Like there's a list and number of things that like people are struggling with, and I think it's just shaking and it's like ready to blow up.
It has to be addressed at some point. So back to the fentanyl epidemic. So you're telling me that us as Americans and us living in this great country that we love so much, right? There's people just dying on the streets and we're just walking over them. Like something has to be done.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what but something has to be done, and I think we're on the right track. Like,
and it's like finding that solution is hard on its own.
Yeah.
Because you got to go to the big dogs. You know, it does feel discouraging because it sometimes feels like we're powerless.
Yeah.
Over what we can do.
Yeah, like small.
And then us feeling that way, like that's when nothing's gonna change.
Right. So it's gonna take like a powerful young generation to stand up and revolt or something. You know, it's. Like if everyone could just chip in and do their part, like if everyone could just chip in and be better and do better, you know,
like what?
I don't know, if everyone can just chip in and care about the next person or just care about something. Yeah. So we're all not falling into the category of caring about nothing. You know, so things can change. Like I don't want my daughters to have to grow up in this. Like
literally, it's bad.
Thinking about them.
And then even like young teens, like mental health right now.
Shit
and also,
show.
this daylight savings is fucking with me. Why is it getting dark at 4 p.m.?
Why does it feel like 1 a.m. at 3 p.m.? I feel like I have to be in bed for sure. Can someone like some kind of scientist pick this apart and let me know like what's going on with that daylight savings thing? Because like right now it feels literally like it's 10 o'clock at night.
It's like 4 p.m. as we're filming this. We're gonna walk outside and it's pitch black.
It's gonna be pitch black, and that's weird. That's just weird.
No, it's just not. It's not cool. Like it shouldn't be dark. You know, there's certain parts of the world that like it's dark. I think like Alaska, it's dark all day. Like they don't get daylight until like March or something. It's like that can't be good for one's mental health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get seasonal depression. I feel like so these holidays have been really hard for me because I really wanted to be home with my kids or home, whatever that looks like, but I've still got a lot of things I've got to take care of to be able to make that happen. And then daylight savings hits, and then it's gloomy, and then I'm just like depressed, you know, out of nowhere, just bam, you know.
Yeah, just makes it 10 times worse.
But we're getting through it. I think everyone's doing the best that they can with what we're given right now.
Yeah.
But still, something needs to be done for more.
Yeah. So was there any kind of message of hope that you wanted to give out to anybody that's been in the sex work industry?
Yeah, so I have a lot of friends and stuff who are still in the lifestyle, and a lot of friends who aren't anymore. And I just would like to say, like, in your heart of hearts, when you're laying in bed at night or whatever, how good do you feel? about yourself. No matter how much money you made that day, I'd like to suspect that you're still lonely and that you're still not well. And so I would encourage you to reach out and get help. There's ways out. I made it out of the lifestyle and I'm a happily married woman today. I'm a good mother, a good person. And so you can too. It's just, you just have to want to do it, because there's going to come a time whenever it could be too late. You know, it's a very dangerous lifestyle. It's a heartless lifestyle. So if you just try and think about it, just give it a couple thoughts about getting out, you know. Those of you still struggling with addiction, like, there is definitely help out here. We love you. We want you to be clean. You deserve to be clean. You deserve to have a life bigger than you ever could have imagined. And it can happen as long as you stay clean.
For sure. And I'm so proud of you and how far you've come in these past few months. I know the direction that you're heading.
Awesome.
I love you. Thank you for coming back on the podcast.
I love you. Yes, you tried to get me here. I got here, girl.
All right, I love you.
Fuck the stigma.